So, about these topics that, usually try to avoid. I'm going to ask you one, Michelle. Do you go to church?
No, I grew up in Eckankar, which is a alternative Eastern religion.
What?
Not where you were expecting to go, was it?
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah. It's like if white people stole meditation from like Tibet or something like that.
You explain it. It's like, it makes sense. Okay. Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise,
where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
I'm Michelle.
Okay, well, in this story, you are going to a church.
Okay.
And you're a member of the choir. And let's just say, for story's sake, you're hewing.
Hue. See, everybody can harmonize at hue. And then you see colors when you all harmonize, so.
Wow, let's try it. Hue.
Isn't that beautiful?
I guess.
Wasn't that a beautiful prayer?
Sure, yeah. I saw colors.
I'm excited to see what comments appear for this episode if we leave that in.
Oh, man. Okay, so you're in church. You're German.
Mm-hmm.
So the melodies, imagine Hugh, but like angry. So you are friends with this woman named Victoria, right? Victoria. I don't know how you would say it in German, but Victoria. Just Victoria. Let's make it.
Nope, that's Italian. Remember when I couldn't go Italian?
Yeah, you were gonna go Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria, which then I could only do a German accent when I was trying to do Italian. What's going on? Do I have a brain tumor?
She'll get checked.
I know. My accents are so wrong lately that I...
Okay, so Victoria is your neighbor. And you think she's good times. Like, she's chill, you know? But one day, on April 1st, 1922, April Fool's Day, so you're in church, and you keep looking towards the door, because Victoria never misses a day. So you're like, that's weird. So you look around, and as you're looking, you see that the whole family isn't there. Normally they're there, right? So you're like, devils. You think, like, it's no big deal. But that following Monday, like when, kids go back to school, word goes around town that a young girl, 7-year-old, hasn't shown up to school either. Her name was Cecilia. And you think, well, just a ditch her, whatever, no big deal. Everyone does it. And Cecilia happens to be Victoria's daughter. Right? So the following day she missed again. This is already like April 4th or something like that. And she's not there.
Now something's up.
Yeah, the mail starts piling up for the family at the post office. So you and a few neighbors, they round you up and they're like, let's go search to see what happened. So you start walking up to this farmstead. And this is like this empty, this is this small town. It's by the woods. It's cold, so there might be some dirt and snow, and you're just you're stepping up towards the farmstead. By the way, this place was outside of the Bavarian town of Groberg. It's called
Bavaria.
Hinterkaifeck. That's what it was called.
Hinterkaifeck.
Hinterkaifeck. Hinter means behind or something like that, right? So, and it's because it's behind the town called Kaifeck. So, the place again, it's lonely. You're walking up, and then for some ambient, let's just add some crows and some wind.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
That's some good foreshadowing.
Trudging in the snow. Oh yeah.
And then you guys open up the barn, and you see bodies piled on top of each other.
shit. Well, look, you knew something was wrong. You knew something was wrong.
Yeah. They're all beat up. They're covered in hay. Like, it's this horrible, haunting scene, right? Then you start walking around and into the house to see, like, oh man, like, where are the kid and the maid? And then you see them. Also, well, they're in, like, one of the rooms, and they're covered up in, like, dresses. Like, in all the dresses, imagine from the closet, are just piled on top of them. That sucks, you think to yourself.
You're right, it does suck.
You see, this thing has been a mystery, Michelle, for over 100 years now, right? It's happened in 1922. Some backstory here. The previous maid that was working for this family had quit. And this is after, like, some very, like, shallow searches on the internet that I found this. Like, she had quit 6 months before. And her reasoning was that she said that the house was haunted. She didn't want to be there. But this maid, the one that got killed, actually, was her first day on the job. Like, it was her first day, yeah. So when they say in the story, when you're reading it and it just tells you, like, oh, she died and it happened to be her first day. Like, I think of that. I'm like, wait, why was that her first day? Did the family just decide to hire someone help, or what happened? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it probably took a while to find someone, and then to die at work, man. That fucking sucks.
Yeah, work sucks, and then you die there. Yeah, and I'm trying to imagine, like, what she would say, like, what she told the family to quit. Like, just like, hey, I'm out. Like, this place is haunted, you know? Because I always imagine, like, back then, the maids or, you know, the service people that help out at a farm, they were, like, very loyal. That's what I imagine. I mean, that's how I see it. Small towns, like, you just work for them. Like, where else are you going to work, right? So,
but also, like, how haunted did it have to be for her to be like,
right?
Peace.
Yeah. Peace out. I'm out. You guys are haunted. Good luck. I don't know. But the conditions of how they were found are fairly graphic, so I'll keep it mild, as always. But first, let's get some more details here so we can get the whole picture, right? So we already know this was a small town. Not much to see, basically just surviving, socializing, the typical stuff. The family that lived in this farmstead were Victoria, who's the mother, her two children, Cecilia and Joseph. Let's just say Joseph. And Victoria's parents, Andreas, and Cecilia, the woman, the older grandma. So there's a young girl. So they lived together. The grandma was found strangled and beaten, like, on the head. This is really bad. I was going to say that her skull was cracked. Andreas was left with cheekbones sticking out of his face.
Jeez.
Victoria was also beat on the head. Little Cecilia was also hit on the head. Inside the house where little Joseph and the maid they were killed in a similar manner. Just beat. Like, they just beat them in their faces and heads and everything. It was just this bad thing. A dog, a Pomeranian, was fine. The animal was fine.
Like, I'm so relieved. Oh, my God. Oh, the relief.
All of the farm animals were also saved. Like, didn't kill anybody there. But the weird thing is that they were also fed and taken care of after the murders. Like, they were found fine, like, being fed and watered and everything. This thing, all the stuff that I'm reading right now, comes from an article by Sonia Vatomsky from Mental Floss. Well, this is an excellent job. I always find, like, really cool detailed articles that are just, like, the whole thing. It feels like I'm plagiarizing the whole thing. But this one was just so, like, boom. It just gives you everything that people know so far. Anyway, so I kept thinking about the whole, like, the haunted thing. Like, what was this maid talking about? Like, why was this haunted, right? So the police also, thankfully, thought that this would be a good thing to investigate. They were like, what do you mean haunted? So they went and they talked to the old maid. And they're like, what happened? And she said that she would hear sounds in the attic and would feel like someone was watching her. Of course, yeah, she told the boss, Andreas, about it. And he was like, that's fake. Go to work. Like, stop. This is not right. However, the neighbors also came forward to tell the police that something that Andreas had experienced that he, I guess, he was not necessarily embarrassed to say, but he was like, this is weird, a weird thing that happened around my house. When you're talking with neighbors, you're like, isn't something weird happen? He had discovered footprints in the snow leading up to this farmstead. Also, these footprints were coming from the woods, and apparently the guy or whoever was walking carried a newspaper with him, because there was a newspaper that the owner, Andreas, hadn't bought himself, but it was inside the house. So somebody came here. To me, somebody was, came from the woods, and they were just living in that house. Basically.
Yeah, 100%. They're living in the walls of that fucking house.
It would explain the haunted part, I think, from the maid, maybe. I don't know.
Agreed. Either that or it is whatever his name is, the head of the house just watching her, in that weird, creepy way.
Okay, so up until now, you notice that I mentioned that Victoria was, there was no, I was going to say man of the house. Am I allowed to say that still, or is it, am I too old-fashioned?
I'll allow it today.
Okay, either way, Victoria, there was no husband back then, in the picture that I mentioned. No man in her life. She was a strong, independent young woman who needed no man. That's who she was, right? But the truth is, she was in a relationship, actually, with one of the neighbors. In fact, the neighbor and her both said that Josef was their son. This is how they would, but not the other girl. By the way, Victoria's husband had been killed during World War I. So that's where Cecilia came from. And then apparently after that's when she got with the other guy, and that's when Josef was born. He happened to be the neighbor that led the search into this farmstead. His name was Lawrence Schlittenbauer.
So German.
But anyway, they didn't actually stay together because Andres, the father here, was like, no, that's not going to happen. So they ended their relationship. They actually listened. And Lawrence was like, all right. And he just got married to someone else. He had a baby with his new wife, but the baby the kid died during infancy. And the police believe that in his sorrow and anger, also because he didn't want to pay child support, he decided to kill them all. That was the theory here. Huh. He was just so pissed that he was like, I'm going to kill him. So it kind of adds up if you look at it that way. If he was really that angry, no, I'm not going to pay, but to kill the whole family, I don't know.
That doesn't make sense. And it's a stretch. It's a real stretch.
I mean, the haunted part was also a stretch, and the police are looking into everything. It's good.
If you're the haunted angle, and then he's mad because he has to pay child support, they don't connect. You know what I mean? They do. So it's if you're looking at this one doesn't make sense, and then if this one, it just, I don't know. It's
it's a little, it's a stretch, but either way, some of the reasoning here is because they saw that when he was talking about the bodies or, referring, he would just walk up to them like it's no big deal. Oh, okay. He knew where everything was in that farmstead. He just knew. And I was like, well, maybe because he just visited often. Yeah. Right? I don't know. But the police consider that normal. And they were like, Michelle's right. So they said, this is dumb. Let's use up our resources on something else. So we'll get some donuts. Or what's the German equivalent?
I don't know. Crawlers?
Oh, man. Another theory was that the husband wasn't actually dead. But all they had to do was look up the records, and they asked some of his buds in war, and they're like, yeah, this guy was gone.
Dead. I mean, yeah, mustard gassed and then ran over by a tank and then
oh no.
And then blown up again and then run over by another tank and then blown up again. And we're talking about World War I tanks. We're not talking about World War II tanks.
His body was dropped when he was coming back home.
Yeah.
This is why we're going to hell, Michelle. This is why.
He's dead. Oh, he's definitely dead. guys.
Oh no. See, we always take this too far.
Well, you might be going to hell. I don't think Eckankar believes in hell, so it's fine.
Another idea was that Joseph was actually the son of Andreas himself, which is again the grandpa. So
yeah,
and the reason was because the neighbors were all like, this guy's all incesty and abusive, and so the theory was that he killed everyone and then beat himself up on the head. It didn't make sense. So they were like,
not quite, doesn't quite work.
There was also another idea where, I don't know if I read this properly, but like it said that maybe two of them, like Victoria and the father, hit themselves simultaneously.
Like,
now that I say it out loud, it doesn't make sense.
Like a suicide
they're just like
beating,
boom.
like a murder-suicide beating. I'm not quite sure that works either. It's like, you go, I go. You go.
The other one dies, and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, once again, we're running into a theory that doesn't quite have the legs to go all the way. But I feel like we're the actual detectives at the time, where it's like, well, what about this? What if they just beat each other? And it's like, no, let's think about this rationally for a second.
Oh man! So they were like, you know what? This is impossible. Whatever. Let's give up. So they closed the case. It was reopened again in 1955. But, okay. So before I continue, there was this book called Hinterkaifeck, Traces of a Mysterious Crime. And it talks about how bodies of the family and the maid were beheaded and taken in for some type of investigation.
Oh, part of the police. I was like, way to bury the lead when you're talking about
the thing was, though, it was for metaphysical clues. What does that mean? I
metaphysical?
Yeah. They were.
Does it really use the word metaphysical? Because that's like, they wanted a psychic to touch the skulls and realize.
Yeah, I guess. But obviously it didn't work. Like, they were maybe hoping to get some message out of the heads, the skulls or whatever. But anyway, the whole family was buried in Witthofen without their heads.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And by the way, those heads that were in some other place, how do you pronounce this? Munich? It was during actually World War II that the heads just were lost. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah. There was no way they could find any more clues on it. The house was demolished, and there's nothing there. Clues are impossible. You're not going to find any more things about it.
Well, and also you're running into a thing where anybody who would have been a part of it would be dead at some point too.
Right.
And they've had to go through a whole war, whole nother war.
I mean, it's unfortunate. I don't know. To this day, nobody really knows exactly what happened. But at the end of this Mental Floss article, they say that the police again opened the case in 2007, and they came up with a theory that they could actually agree on, all of them. However, they didn't want to disclose it because, in part, they said it's due to respect of the suspect's descendants.
Well, who did it?
It's like the police are saying that, out of respect, we do not want to disclose our theories. And then you're just asking, yeah, but who?
Yeah.
But who?
But who did it?
I understand what you're saying, but who? Yeah.
Yeah. You take all that time, all that deduction. There's no more evidence. It's just made up, which is probably why they aren't going to reveal it, because it is just
oh, I can see that. So they're just
they're like, oh, well, this seems like the most likely now.
Yeah. It's just a way for them, an excuse for them to just finally close it and just say, never mind. There's been countless investigations on this, books. There's a documentary on it. There's all these things people are trying to figure out who killed these people, what happened.
Yeah.
Right. There was a few, actually there's several. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 suspects if you look this up on Wikipedia. Out of all of these, honestly, it's a coin toss. I reading on all these, I'm like, there's no way I can. None of these to me seem like they would have like more like it's a more definite. Here you go. This is who did it. There was one interesting one though. This was about Paul Mueller. It says that there's this book called The Man from the Train, where the author is Bill James, and he talks about this man who was known as Paul Mueller. Was a German migrant who may have been responsible for the murders. And Mueller was the only suspect in the 1898 murder of the Massachusetts family. I'm not really sure what case that is, but it sounds very interesting. It also says that Mueller is believed that Mueller killed dozens of victims based on research in American newspaper archives. So imagine, this person's writing on this guy who came from Germany, and like, yeah. And the reason why is because some of the crimes, the suspected crimes, has a similar style of killing. Like, you get a whole family in their isolated home. They use a blunt edge of a farm tool, like a weapon, like a pickaxe or something. Yeah. And then stacking the bodies of the families.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but there was no suspicion that the person had gone in to rob the house. Like there was some ill intent. Like they wanted to either like revenge or something.
They were like playing house. Yeah, they were like they just wanted to kill people or something.
Yeah, and money was left there. Like it just didn't make any sense. So to this day, it's still a mystery. I don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is.
I'm like, I think stranger. I think it's a stranger that wandered in and was living in the fucking house and watching them.
Of course, you would pick the creepiest, like, most paranoia-inducing. Okay.
Of course. How else do I sleep at night? If I didn't do that, I mean, just a person watching them, reading his newspaper, like coming in from the woods, watching the maid, and then being like, I live here now, and takes care of all of them, and then just goes and cares for the animals after he kills them all. But you know what makes me happy? He's a dog lover.
Oh no. A whole family, a little kid died, a 2-year-old died. But the dog was fine.
But the Pomeranian lived.
Yeah.
So
that Pomeranian knows what happened.
It does know what happened. The only witness is the Pomeranian.
My dad has a theory that dogs are going to be able to speak pretty soon. Just because
of those things that they can hit.
Oh, like, that too, but also like I've heard Frenchie's voices and also huskies, and they can say words like parrots, but I think they're smart enough to ask for water and actually make the sounds for water.
Yeah.
Or food, or
I mean, growing up, my cat could say mama, and it would go and scratch at my mom's door and go, mama.
What?
I mean, he was a genius, the Larry David of cats, truly. But it worked. It's just like he'd bang on her door and like just say her name.
I always think they sound like old babies.
They do sound like old babies.
Oh man. So that was your mystery surprise for today, which is
Unsolved Mystery Surprise.
Ooh. Yeah, creepy stuff. But what are we going to talk about next week, Michelle?
I don't know, but I think it'll be a surprise.
It will. It
took me a second. I thought I forgot the line just because we'd said surprise so many times.
I think it'll be scary.
I think it'll be scary. I think it'll be a mystery. I think it'll be an Edwin and Michelle. Anyway, see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.